Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to your weekly dose of newsy infotainment. It's Let's Be Treasonable, coming to you from the luxurious studios of Radio Titans in Los Angeles with your cognitive dissidents on the panel this week. Joining us for the first time, very happy to have her here, comedian contestant on Last Comic Standing and Huffington Post contributor Katie Massa Kennedy.
It is a pleasure to be here, and I love the name of your show.
I'm
a big fan of puns.
Got to give most of the credit, if not all of it, to regular panelist Jim Coughlin.
Oh, I know Jim. Good.
Yeah.
That is right in his wheelhouse.
It was one of those things, brainstorming session, but Jim's the guy who pulled it out. So props to Jim. Also joining us on the panel this week, you know her from this show, you know her from the web series Knocking on Doors, and, of course, from the comedy stage. Ladies and gentlemen, happy to have her in the studio, Jessica Abrams.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here. I love doing this show, as much as I hate getting up early.
Well, we try not to make it too early.
11 is just a little tough. No, I'm kidding.
Well, and with the tropical heat coming back to Los Angeles, I can understand. Woman. And, of course, joining us on the panel, comedian, scholar, and the black voice of reason, Mr. Tymon Shipp.
Power to the people. It's good to be here with these two beautiful women. On this, and they got up this morning. Yes, they did. So, hey.
Props, it's was it Mark Twain who said 90% of success is just showing up?
Yeah. Still working on that.
Yeah. And as always, we are joined by, or maybe not always, but most of the time, we are joined by our invisible panelist who joins us through the miracles of pre-recorded sound and telephony. It is 5-time Emmy nominee Will Durst with this week's Burst of Durst.
Hey guys, Will Durst here with a few choice words about what Robert Mueller wants to ask the president. The New York Times released 49 questions the special counsel thinks Donald Trump needs to answer for them to close out the Russian investigation. Nobody's sure who leaked the list. The special counsel himself, maybe, or some lawyers at the White House, the assignment editor at MSNBC, a disgruntled craft services worker at the National Review. At this point, we're just guessing. Everybody's blaming everybody else. And why was the list leaked? To lower expectations, raise them, lull the participants to sleep? Mostly, the questions sound like legal gibberish. What were you doing when blah, blah, blah said he did the thing with the guy at the place? None of the inquiries bring up Russian hookers. So hopefully it's not the complete list. And in the spirit of helping out, we here at Durstco have come up with some questions that should be added to the list because the American people deserve to know. Number 1, what's the deal with your hair? Is Corey Lewandowski your love child or just adopted? Who has the more annoying mustache, Ty Cobb or John Bolton? Any truth to the rumor that all the knives have been removed from the White House kitchen? What was Stormy Daniels like in bed? Is it true that Stephen Miller is the result of a Nazi breeding program that mated rabid wolverines with poisonous fungus? What's up with your ties hanging down to your knees? Isn't Rudy Giuliani supposed to be helping? What are the chances Dennis Rodman can be appointed ambassador to North Korea? Does Mike Pence have a pulse, or is he the product of reverse taxidermy? For Let's Be Treasonable, I'm Will Durst.
Thank you very much, Will. And to answer the question about what happened to all the knives from the White House kitchen, just check the backs of any member of the administration. Sure to find at least one buried in each member. It has been yet another interesting week. When I'm putting the stories together for the panelists, so we're all on the same page of what to discuss, it seems like every Friday when I'm doing this, I'm looking back and going, Jesus, that was just this past Monday.
Yeah.
It has been a crazy week, and it all started, as many things do since we record the show on Saturday mornings, with the White House press correspondents' dinner, and a hilarious speech/routine by Michelle Wolf. We'll be talking more about that later. But as long as Will brought it up, I think we should start by talking about all the legal shenanigans going on around the current administration. And I guess a great place to start would be that list of questions that was published by the New York Times that apparently was leaked from someone on Team Trump. Did not come out of the special counsel's office. So in a week where Trump came up with the brilliant witticism of lion leaker to describe James Comey, he's got the leaks going on his own side. Any thoughts as to the questions that have already come up, or any questions that you think should have been on the list but aren't?
Well, I thought actually that the list was really comprehensive, but also it wasn't a list of Mueller's questions. It was John Dowd's notes about his questions. But I think it becomes more and more clear why John Dowd got the hell out of there. And I also think it's pretty clear that it was leaked by Trump or someone in his circle, because he immediately took to Twitter to try to generate outrage about this whole thing. And it's really, really funny that he, seems to think that the questions are not about collusion when they pretty much all are. But I guess if he were capable of doing a find and search function and he didn't find the word collusion, that means that it is not about collusion.
Yeah, it seems like anything that doesn't directly mention it. If Trump was the sort of guy who would subscribe to PBS, and I think we can all guess that he's not, but I'm sure he would take his gift tote bag and collection of cookbooks from America's Test Kitchen and say that they prove there is no collusion because it's not even mentioned in there.
And one more thing about the list. When I went through it and read all of it, I mentioned that John Dowd left not long after, is because when you look at the list, it's like a checklist. It seems like a Mueller checklist of, this is what I'm going to ask that I already have communications on.
Yeah,
to compare.
Really
to compare.
We just want confirmation
Yes.
of what we already have, or if someone is going to testify to something different, that would be interesting to have as well.
Right.
I think that they're also that there's not going to be just about this list. There's some things that Mueller is probably sitting there. He's not showing all his cards, and there's going to be some things that he's seen that they don't even know what's coming. So they think that, I'll put this list out. No, there's some stuff that's going to hit him, that's going to give him a serious uppercut that he's not seeing. This guy, Mueller's taking his time. And that's why the Republicans said, look, I think the Republicans really want Trump gone. I think they do, because he's making them look like, because they don't want to say that I'm connected to this guy, but I am connected to him.
Right, but in a way, I think they love having him there because as much of a shitstorm as he is, he is a distraction from the rest of the crap that they're doing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do want to talk about a little more in depth during the show today is EPA Director Scott Pruitt. And it has been mentioned several times in the press, and it's pretty clear that Trump loves having him there with all the scandal that he's providing, because it is providing a great cover for all the crap that they're doing to dismantle the EPA.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
People have pointed out, as in the parlance of the times, but he is fulfilling the president's agenda.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Emission standards, that kind of thing. But we're all so interested in the
and
scandal.
The fact that he said that he would go ahead and cut. The Pruitt said, I'll cut all this is too much. You can't keep this up. People won't buy new cars if you keep the EPA the way it is and keep the standards on cars the way it is. That's not true. Because there's a lot of things out there that's, we always say man was sent to be the steward of the earth, and yet he is also being the jackass of it because of his greed. He's ruining the earth, and you got that. The EPA is this whole thing. It's a battle of money. It's
absolutely.
It's oil and gas.
And,
End of
it's
story.
The Republicans are basically treating clean air and clean water the way Hollywood treats female late night show talk hosts. It's, we tried that and it didn't seem to work. So we're just, we're going to go back to not having clean water and clean air because Joan Rivers. It's like, what? That makes absolutely no sense. Yet, if someone were to say that, it would make more sense than a lot of the stuff they're actually saying in Washington.
Right.
So,
when the story came out in the Washington Post that Scott Pruitt had a wish list of the countries that he wanted to visit, and then tasked his staff with finding excuses why he could go there on official business, I was so mad because I was like, why hadn't I thought of that?
Representative Ted Lieu actually, in a tweet this morning,
Me too.
said to Speaker Ryan, hey, if we can do this, I've got a wish list of my own, but I'm actually too busy doing my job.
Right.
And this is what Trump hates. He said, well, see, we have a leaker. No, I want to know that information that this jackass is really planning on continuously taking advantage of the American people. I want to know that. Is that leaked? Yes, leak it. I want to know this. I mean, why would you go out? I mean, that's like what's the brother Carson? Didn't he go and buy $31,000 worth of furniture or whatever for an office?
Dining room
table,
set.
yeah.
Dining room set.
Ben Carson.
That jackass. Okay, I used to like him until I found out how much of a jackass. And then. See, and he's spending money.
He's no Herman Cain.
No. Was it 999-777?
The 999.
666?
Yeah.
Jackass. Yeah. Black people threw him back too. Yeah, they don't want him.
That's true.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that, you're wasting money. It's kind of like when we had, what's the other? It's another black dude. Ridley
Scott?
John
no, not
Ridley?
Ridley that's here. He's a board of supervisor. That's one of the something Ridley Scott or Ridley.
No, well, not Ridley Scott.
No, but it's another Ridley. But he wanted to spend $1.8 million on his new office furniture and everything. And I'm like, you just got here, and already you're putting money into your office for one. Just give me a desk. That's all you need, and someone to answer your phone for you. That's it.
I worked years ago. I worked for a radio station that it was a brand new station. They had just launched, and they issues. And this was a long-standing thing in the market where one of the other stations was over-modulating on their frequency. So it was a college town, and the short version of the story is because of the signal bleed from this popular station, you couldn't get our signal on campus. And we were the first radio station that was actually launched with the intent of simultaneously webcasting and broadcasting. And the owners of the station, who had never been involved in media before, said, well, the students, they all have computers. They can hear us on their computers. Which, this is the mid-'90s. So, a lot of people did have the internet in their dorm rooms. But it's not going to be a big audience builder if people have to stay in their dorm room or their apartment to listen to your station. Now, what the owners of the station did do is they bought a Jeep as a promotional vehicle for the station. And, okay, I guess it's good for the station to have a car with the logo of the station plastered all over it for promotional purposes. But what really works to promote radio stations? Being able to listen to them. And we're seeing the same kind of mismanagement in the government, and to the point where it's obvious that all the belly aching and whining about tax and spend Democrats, it isn't about the fact that they're actually spending money that they have been given through taxes. It's that they're spending them on things that help people.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you say mismanagement. I mean, don't you think there is a very specific agenda? I don't think it's a question of mismanagement. I think they're pushing an agenda. It's
mismanagement
it's,
in the classic sense, though. And I realize, we're talking about Donald Trump. So none of what's understood to be
but even
acceptable,
the
good,
Republicans
and
in general,
functional.
right. Aside from Trump, what the agenda that they're pushing, which is the tax reform and essentially